My name's Adam Robinson. I'm founder and CEO of RB2B and retention.com, and I'm going to talk about how I became known well uh, versus well known on LinkedIn, and how your CEO can do the same thing in 1 hour a week. So let's jump in and get down to business. So I think there's two competing audience building strategies on LinkedIn in 2024. One audience strategy is to become well known. This guy, Chase Diamond, who's a very good friend of mine, and by the way, I got this concept from him. He is trying to be well known. And by well known, he's literally trying to amass as many followers as he can. And in order to do so, there are certain topics you can talk about on LinkedIn, like getting a job, work-life balance or whatever. And he's taking viral content, posting that, and then he's sort of doing a bunch of stuff with engagement pods and all of that stuff with the goal of just amassing a ton of followers. And then he sells services into those followers. So that's one way to do it. And I think it's worth noting that a lot, if you were to seek out how to audience build on LinkedIn, a lot of the ghostwriters that you will find are doing the same thing, because that's how you sell ghostwriting services. So what is the other strategy? The other strategy is to be known well. And being known well means you're amassing a very tight and very targeted audience. What does that even mean? It means, what does that even mean? It means the content that I create, I know that my ideal customer profile, and there's kind of three different segments of it. I know exactly which words I write, which will hit certain, interests. It'll resonate certain pain. And over time, it just compounds a type of trust that being well known simply doesn't, because being well known is kind of about a lot of people just knowing your face, your name, whatever. Being known well is like, it's basically making people feel like they are your best friend. And LinkedIn, the way that the content works, and it's like really deep thought leadership, it's text, it's a lot of characters. It just provides a medium to do that. And my thesis is that if you can do that, you have this magic that no one else has. You have a power that no one else can create. So these are my LinkedIn followers, and followers are not everything, but I like to show this chart because I think it very well represents my understanding of content creation on LinkedIn. As you can see, in September of 2022, this was my first post. I had almost no followers. It took around a year to break 20,000. And then there was this aha moment in September of 2023 where my followers doubled in a week. The steepness of the curve of gaining followers increased, and it's never looked back. And there's reasons for that, which I'm going to explain. And I'm going to explain how to get started in the first place also. So who am I? I'm Adam Robinson. Well, I now have around 90,000 followers, but I figured out how to get a ton of engagement on this platform, and not only a ton of engagement, but it's a ton of engagement from really, really valuable people. And this guy named Peter Conforti, who has a content service that helps CEOs build content on LinkedIn, he actually did an analysis of my audience. And 75% of people who engage with my posts are actually within my ICP. They're B2B SaaS companies. Over 25% of them are CEOs. Interestingly, with the content I'm making, I would think that they're mostly small startups. 15% of the people work at 1,000 or over companies. So this platform just has an incredibly valuable audience. It's probably like the anti-Reddit, if you want to talk about it that way. But now I'm going to get started with my LinkedIn journey and how I ended up having this incredibly valuable audience. So I love telling this story. I'm sure if you're watching this video, you've heard of Jasper, because they were kind of like the ChatGPT before ChatGPT. Well, I shared an office with them for the 2 years before they created Jasper. And these were some guys that were stuck at 2 million ARR, burning money. And I just love showing this text message, because when they started Jasper, they were trying to create something slightly bigger than their 2 million ARR startup. And 15 months later, it was worth $1.5 billion, and these guys had no idea. So I love telling that story because I sat there and watched it happen, and it completely reframed how I thought about the world, because I was stuck in the same place they were, and there was like nothing more real than just having these guys from Maryland sitting across from me in an office and watching them create something that just exploded. And the point is, like, you just, no matter what you're doing, have to keep throwing spaghetti against the wall, and you have no idea how big this stuff's going to be. So that's just such an encouraging story from the startup perspective. So uh, when that was happening was Q3 22, and I had a pretty interesting business. I had a 12 million ARR company with 6 full-time employees, and I watched these guys knock it out of the park with Jasper, and I was like, I should do that too. And then the question becomes, okay, if you're going to do that, meaning create massive awareness for your company and sort of try to make something much bigger than it is, what's the best way to create massive awareness? And without a doubt, for me, having talked to people and then read this book, which I would highly recommend reading, by Dave Gerhardt, without a doubt, it was building up a personal profile on social media rather than a company page, right? Because people are on social media to connect with people. Dave very clearly articulates the argument for the founder story, and the essence of it is, more or less, there's reasons why founders start companies, and that's usually an interesting story. So you should get out there and tell it, because it's probably a better story than any other brand story that you have. When you go to your CEO and say you should start posting on social, you're going to hear these 6 things. I don't want to be famous. I don't want to post every day. I don't want to be on the social treadmill. I don't want to post against the best people in the world. I don't want to have to learn the game from scratch. I don't want to spend time creating content. I'm way too busy, right? I know that because I said all of these things before I sort of, became comfortable with diving in. Here's basically the rebuttal that you can throw back. In terms of being famous, if they post on LinkedIn, they're not actually going to be famous. If everything goes incredibly well, you'll be very famous in this tiny little niche. So like if you walk into an event of, let's say marketers, they may think you're famous. Nobody else will. So that's not a legit objection. And then all of the rest of these fall into the category of, I either don't have time or I'm like scared to play, a sport against professional athletes that I know nothing about. So the answer to that is you can actually hire a ghostwriter to get started, and you should. That's my recommendation. Hiring someone who knows how to write content for LinkedIn, and then watching them write, and then studying other people who are really good at it. And basically modeling those people, like that's the way that I think you should do anything. So a really good ghostwriter can work with you 1 hour a week, and they can get you started on this journey. I started with Tommy, and the conversation was just like, he's like, you should start posting on LinkedIn. Only 1% of active users create content, which is very different than the other social networks, by the way. And it's still only around like 2% or something. He's like, I can write for you. Daniel can boost your posts. You will crush. So look up Tommy Clark if you want to get started. He's great to get off the ground. And so the journey begins, right? Like in September 2022, I had never made a LinkedIn post. So I made my first post. Something really interesting happened, and like I spent I spent an hour and a half writing this post about like how I went to a fireside chat, and then I just like said what I did in front of my perfect audience. And then the other guy that was there, they asked me questions for an hour, and like he didn't even get to speak. So I wrote about this. It took forever. Got like 10 engagements. And then Tommy comes the next day. I think he probably spent 30 seconds on this, and it got 2,700 likes. So I was just like, holy cow, there's something about this game that I don't understand. I'm just going to sit back and watch. And I sort of watched what he was doing. Some of it was coming from me, some of it was just a little arbitrage game. And in general, what I would describe my first few months of this coming alive on social media, because I had no presence before, I was like, I don't know exactly what this is doing for me, but it's doing something. And I've heard a lot of other CEOs say that who started posting on LinkedIn. And I think what that really means is something along the lines of maybe you're not getting demos booked, right? But like it is creating an ecosystem level awareness that is creating other types of inbound for you that you were not getting before. So like partnerships, recruiting, agencies, like investors or whatever. Like that's what really happened. So that was phase one, or this is phase one. I'm obsessed with video for a lot of reasons. I just think, these social platforms really can create this parasocial relationship that makes people feel like your best friend. You can amplify that by using video. And uh I kind of went overboard with it, but like I was using a ton of video. I didn't really know what I was doing. I even made a docu-series that like wasn't really properly contextualized for LinkedIn. And I'm starting to do it again, hopefully contextualize a little bit better. And I had some internal struggles about this whole effort. I kind of know what I'm good at, but I didn't know why I was making the content that I was making. Like I didn't know why I was writing the words I was writing. The second internal struggle is I was trying to make content for an e-com store owner and I was a SaaS store owner. So like I didn't really understand why they would read my content over someone who is actually in the game. And the third internal struggle I had was I didn't really feel like every post was the best version of itself it could be. So I sought another partner in this, sort of journey. And phase two was Alec Paul, who I still work with now. So he's a consultant and he's not a ghostwriter. There came a time when I was like, I'm kind of coming up with all these ideas anyway. I just want to feel how the machine works with my own hands. So that's what Alec's all about. My content got a lot better. We didn't use video for a long time because we were trying to nail down the text post. And this is kind of like an average post in this like phase two with Alec. And the idea that the playbook that Alec has for all the rest of his clients is they make great content, they get inbound connection requests, you accept the connection requests in your ICP, you send them a what got your attention message, you wait 60 days for them to read all of your content, and then you become famous to them. And then when you go in to try to like book a demo with them, it's like an 80% accept rate. So we tried to run this with ecom stores. It didn't work. So that was like the new internal struggle. So all of a sudden, we think that we should pursue the B2B space rather than the e-commerce space. And we're at this magic moment. So I was like, Alec, I want to start writing for B2B. And he was like, if you write about B2B, you're going to absolutely crush with how hard you're trying and what you're willing to say. So I dropped my first post about BDR and how it was changing. And instead of like 60 or 70 likes, it got 3,300. And I was like, wow, we may be onto something here. So a week went by and I write all of my LinkedIn posts at once. I was in Santa Fe on vacation last Labor Day. We had an 8 o'clock dinner. It was 6 p.m. I was like, guys, I'm going to go write my 3 LinkedIn posts. I came back to talk to my wife and my friends, and they were like, I was like, I don't know for sure if these are going to be good LinkedIn posts, but if these hit, then I understand what it means to write a good LinkedIn post. If they do not, I'm right back where I was a year ago, and I know nothing. So what happened? They were like the 3 biggest posts that probably still to this day I've ever written. And I walked away from that week thinking, wow, I can create incredible content for LinkedIn because I can keep writing posts like this. So what was the change? Well, number one, we started writing for B2B SaaS people because we had this idea that we wanted to create a product for B2B SaaS, which before we only had a product for e-commerce stores. So that was like the fundamental, like massive change. And then second of all, I had actually quite a tumultuous journey as many SaaS, founders and SaaS revenue leaders did in 2023, because we were used to like 2 years of absolute euphoria. And I was willing to talk about it in like excruciating detail. And then finally, you know, I kind of just learned what like a hot take was or something like that. Like whatever, I guess it's like when I'm writing something, I'm like, oh, this is kind of makes me squirm. So like for sure, nobody else is going to write this who has like investors and is worried about what their employees think and all that. So that was like the main change. Now we enter this era that I call the Chris Walker playbook. And if you're on LinkedIn, you probably know who he is. I kind of took his format for video just because I think the talking head is like just so effective at like, if you can get anyone to listen to your talking head about anything, like your status just sort of raises in their head. And at this point, I mean, I know again exactly what it takes to connect with any of these 3, the founder, the salesperson or marketer, or the lead gen agency. I know what to write to connect with any of them. And I'm bringing people along this journey of like starting from zero with the startup. I got my other, 22 million ARR startup that I'm sharing excruciating details about, like, scaling problems and all that stuff. And then over time, I've been at the B2B stuff for 9 months. I have this audience that is just, they're dying for more of what's going on. They want to know what's next. And when I walk into a room of people who are in this audience, they walk up to me and they don't even say their name. It's the craziest thing because they feel like we talked yesterday, even though we did not. So, well, what's in it for the bottom line to achieve this? So, we launched this product, our B2B. We launched it 17 weeks ago. It's already at $1.5 million ARR. We have 5 people and haven't spent any ad spend. And we were able to just use this incredible, inbound demand from content by, like, writing posts that agitated pain related to what we were solving. And then, if you read my stuff, you may have seen this close last fall. We just put at the end of the post that, PS, if you want to identify your anonymous website visitors and push their LinkedIn to Slack in real time, DM me. It's 100% free. I'm not kidding. So, we were able to get 2,800 waitlist signups and had 300 meetings from October till we launched in March, which is an incredible amount of sort of, demand to go after when we launched, and discovery, which I think is just the most underdone and underappreciated startup related activity. And now we're using this LinkedIn profile in our PLG. So if a valuable person signs up and they do not install the script, my profile will actually go and contact them and try to get them on a call. And Kyle helps with that. So I wanted to share this. People always ask, like, well, how much are you spending on all these consultants? I actually was making a docu-series, so I'm way overspending on the video part. Like, Chris Walker only spends $2,500, and he doesn't have any consultants doing any of this, but he's way better at this than I am. I mean, I only started a year ago. He started 7 years ago, but, like, I'm trying to be the best, so I'm trying to work with the best. And I just launched this business as the entire go-to-market. So, I'm spending around 50 grand a month on this founder brand stuff. I think, there's no reason for anyone in their right minds to create a docuseries about themselves, but I'm doing it and it's expensive. So point is, you don't have to spend this much because Tommy can help you, for a few grand a month or whatever, right? And I'm just, like, way too excited about this stuff because it's doing so much for me. So that's all I have. Thank you very much. If you want to ask me any questions, you can email me at adam@retention.com. And that's all.